Commander Sisko prepares the perfect beats. Constable Odo gets whisking lessons, and Jake Sisko didn't succeed in his keyboard lessons. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Seventh Rule. I'm your co-host, Mirror Universe, Ryan T. Husk, along with Jake Sisko himself, Cirroc Lofton.
Oh, wow,
We're here
that's great.
And
Yeah,
I
others
am
you guys.
Mirror Mohamed Noor. My name is Ryan T. Husk. I mean, I don't know how to do this anymore. I've already ruined it for you. Dude,
was a
before we
great
get
opening,
started, today we are doing a review of Season 3, Episode 4, Deep Space Nine's Equilibrium, directed by Cliff Bole, teleplay by Renee Echevarria, story by Christopher Teague. Very quickly, before we get into that, Mohamed, that was so close. Those three trivioids that you chose were so close to the three I was going to do.
Really? That's awesome.
So you said Odo gets whisking lessons. I said Odo is the worst stirrer ever. What did you say about Jake's keyboard?
Didn't succeed in his keyboard lessons?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I said Jadzia steals Jake's Casio keyboard. because at the end she stole. I'm like, hey, that's his. And then what was the third one?
The first one was
the redfish.
the perfect
cookie.
beats.
Perfect beats.
Perfect Beets. Yeah, I
Yeah.
said Bashir hates Beets, but Dax loves them.
Wow.
That's three. You 3 for 3. You literally picked the exact 3 things that I was going to talk about. Yeah, I guess you don't need me, huh?
no, we need you.
I guess
I'm just
I'll go
trying to
take a
emulate
nap.
you.
That's awesome. This is
That's
Mohamed
pretty dead
Noor,
on.
Professor, Dean of Life Sciences at Duke
Natural
University.
sciences. Yep.
Natural
It's okay.
Sciences. That's such a
all
better
good.
title, too. Sorry about that. Anyway, let's talk about this episode. Shall we?
Please.
Let's do it.
Great. Cirroc, you said you really liked this episode, right?
I thought it was the best episode yet so far.
So far this week?
So far today. Not even this week. Yeah, no, not my favorite episode. I actually was dying to trying to fill up the notes on this one.
You know, it's funny.
I'm gonna write down.
I filled up a ton of notes. It's almost like when it's bad, I start taking more notes because I'm like looking for something interesting. I'm like begging. And this wasn't as bad as I thought. I think it's kind of like when you watch it for the first time, you're like, oh, that wasn't a very good episode. But when you watch it for a second or third time and you know it's not a very good episode, then you kind of dive deeper into the details. Kind of like there was the episode where Chief O'Brien gets taken back to Cardassia or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it may not have been the best episode, but at least we got to learn more about Cardassia or Collaborator. Not the best episode, but we get to learn more about Bajor. You know what I mean? So you can kind of sink your teeth into, you know, the lore of the worlds. That are in Star
world
Trek.
building.
Yeah. I can see that.
That's my excuse. Mohamed, you're saying some pretty interesting things before we hit the record button, right?
Was it?
I don't know. No,
well, one thing I was thinking about, I don't think this is what we were talking about before, but one thing that I actually found it physically disturbing watching Dax be that angry. I was like, what's going on? You know, I was actually getting agitated. Like, what is this? It was interesting that it evoked a reaction. Oh, I remember what you're talking about from the ending. Yeah. We can come back to that later.
Yeah, I can kind of agree with that, though, Mohamed. I do feel like there was somewhere deep inside of me that was so irritated by it. Said, this is not normal.
Right?
Right.
I mean, so, like when you see your friend and they're like really upset, like, what's wrong?
Right. What's wrong? Like let's talk about it. Like, we can fix it. It's not, it's not going to last forever.
Exactly. Especially the chess game too. That was crazy. Like, what is up with her?
Yeah. Because usually she's the rock, you know.
Exactly.
She's the one we can always count on.
Very
she's cool
even
as a
keel.
cucumber. So seeing her ruin a perfectly good chess game. Come on, guys.
And yell at Kira after that too? What?
Yeah.
This is your friend. Why are you yelling?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really short with Bashir too as well. She shut him up with a real quick quiet. That was snappy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just, her being out of character like that did bother me to a degree, especially with that chess scene. And her accusing Sisko of cheating, I think, bothered me a little bit too.
You stood up and started yelling at the TV, right?
Yeah.
Don't you dare.
Cheating is like, it's such a major accusation.
Yeah.
That you don't just throw it around lightly. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that Curzon really thought that Ben Sisko cheated? Because she made some comment like, well, Curzon always thought you cheated. I wonder if that's true or if that was just.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't catch that line.
I didn't catch that line either, but she did. But I didn't know if that was Curzon talking. Yeah.
I think it was Jadzia. I think that came out in anger because it seems like Curzon, even though he had a temper, he was the wise old man. And the wiser you are, the less you're going to misinterpret people. Usually the wiser you are, you're better at kind of judging character, and Sisko's not somebody that would cheat.
Yeah, I've been accused of cheating in that same kind of fashion over a meaningless thing. So, there wasn't even usually you have an incentive to cheat. Like you want to win a Super Bowl, you want to win a championship. Like there's something there. There's money involved.
Yeah, you're supposed to have a chess game with a friend. What the heck?
What
do you get out of that?
You don't get anything out. And so when somebody accuses you and you're like, dude, we're not even playing for anything. Like, why would I cheat? That bothers me personally. So yeah, I can understand how that would upset you and how it upset me too, just watching it.
Yeah.
Would you consider a card magic trick to be cheating? Because that's like sleight of hand. I just thinking of that because I was like, I feel like I've cheated in games a bunch of times.
But then I
was like, did I really cheat? Like in certain card games, like there was this game called Grass where you're like trading cards to be like the best drug dealer or whatever. And I would say, and I would say like, oh, I'll trade you this card for that card. They say, okay. And then I have another card under it. And so then when they reach for it, I just slide that one and they grab it. They're like, but it's too late because they've already done the trade.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, is that cheating or is that sleight of hand?
Yeah. I did something like that in a class they used to run. This was many years ago too, but where I wanted people to take turns going. So what I did is I had them all put their names in a hat. What I would always do is I'd put the person who I wanted to go next on top inside the hat, and they'd always pull the top name. Always.
This is 1985 David Stern NBA draft when the New York Knicks won the very first NBA draft. That's what that's
really
that's the cheating. Yeah.
Oh man.
It's the same kind of thing. Like, hey, I would put all these names in a hat, randomly pick one.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even pick. I let other people pick, so it didn't look cheap. But they always pick the top one. Always.
So funny.
Yeah, that's a psychology type trick that you used on them.
Yep.
I'd say that qualifies a little bit differently than Ryan's.
You said my name so aggressively.
Ryan's was actually like kind of a cheat move. Deception,
right?
It was a deception move.
Mohamed was playing the percentages because of what his intention was. He didn't like that's not deliberately cheating. That's just kind of like saying, hey, I'd rather be this, but if they pick somebody else,
pick somebody else. That's all. It happens.
Yeah. Pick a card, any card. This card.
Yeah, especially this one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so we've gotten off track, and I blame myself.
Yeah.
Chess matches. Anyway.
2D chess matches.
Right. Tutti Frutti.
She said a line there, though. Dax did say one line that I wrote down here that I was like, whoa. And she said, get your hands off me before I do something I regret.
Right.
Yeah, that was so aggressive.
Yeah, that was like, that's beyond words now. She's talking like physically threatening somebody.
Yeah, and that look she had, she's a very good actress. She had that really stern, like, whoa, I would get way far away from you right now. Look.
I kind of wanted Kira to match that level because, Kira can talk mess with the best of them. When she said, take your hands off me before I do something I regret, Kira should have said, that's right. You will regret it. And I would have been like, it's on. Because usually the line is before I do something you'll regret. But she said, do something I'll regret. I'm like, it doesn't hold as much
a little
water.
bit of humanity there still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
right.
I actually think that Dax could have actually played this character more on the tough, edgy side, and it probably would have been more interesting to watch in the beginning of this, the first couple of seasons.
Yeah,
she is a little bit soft in the first couple of seasons, a little bit timid and soft, and not as aggressive or authoritative as she could be, as we see that in this episode that she has the potential to be. They could have wrote her a little bit more edgy and a little bit tougher, like kind of more on the masculine tough guy, I can kick somebody's ass type of girl. I would have bought it.
It was a male
right.
host that was taking over her personality.
The imagery with them, this is in your picture there, Ryan, too. The imagery with the mask was really interesting because it's somebody who is masked, right? Like that's the piece there. So that was kind of an interesting use of imagery there, because she'd see this person that's masked and it's like, well, I don't know who that is. It's like, well, you don't know who you are.
So you were okay with that?
I mean, I thought it was interesting in that sense.
I was a little 50-50 on it because I felt like at least give us an explanation as to why it's like that. But I guess maybe they figured we'd figure it out like what you did. Whereas me, I was just kind of like, that's Jack and Hagar or what? That's a Game of Thrones reference, the faceless man.
Yep.
I thought. I just wrote that down. I said, oh, she saw the faceless man. I forgot.
Maybe
I wasn't sure about the faceless man thing. I see how they kind of led us down the storyline to get to Duran. This Duran person that was
what was his name?
Duran Balar.
Yeah, and his brother was Yolad Balar.
Yeah. So they kind of led us down there, and they through these little scenes here with the Phantom of the Opera, and
true.
And then I don't know. I just got lost in it. It was a little bit difficult for me to follow, and it was just her acting out of place. And it's funny because I wrote an episode that never got aired, and nothing happened of it. But I did write an episode.
Cool.
And I pitched it to the writers, and the episode was basically about Dax's character changing in the very way that it changes in this episode, where she becomes, violent and aggressive. But I had her change being the result of her being addicted to something that Quark puts in his drinks to get everybody to come and spend more money.
Oh, interesting. I like it.
Yeah, so that was my little storyline. When I pitched it to the writers,
cool.
they told me they couldn't use it because of the video game, everybody on Next Generation being addicted to the video game.
Right. It was similar to that, huh?
So it's kind of like, they did use something, not exactly that, but remember in Enterprise, T'Pol got addicted to that Trillium or whatever it was called.
That was kind of a rough episode too.
Yeah, it was
she
a little rough.
Falls down trying to. I'm really curious about this story idea you had, though, Cirroc. Jake cool. Sisko, the writer.
Yeah, that's right.
Was there like a subplot that you can remember? Like, what was the B story?
Oh yeah, so the A and B story. The A story was Quark buying this stuff from some alien who's selling him these drugs to put in his drinks. He throws a party and gives away free drinks at the party, knowing that everybody's going to come back, and that kind of leads Odo to be suspicious of it. There's no way Quark's giving anything away for free.
Right.
And then a couple of people don't show up to the party, like Sisko, so he doesn't get affected. But the people that do show up, like Dax, gets addicted to the drink and then starts becoming, we see the same kind of things that we see with alcoholism or drug abuse, which is basically her losing herself and, diminishing and not being as polished and refined as, somebody who's clean and sober. And she actually turns to like almost prostitution in my episode, right?
Wow.
Just to have the money to buy the drinks.
Did you ever think about making it into a book?
No, I didn't. I just wrote it as a script. But the other storyline was that Sisko and Jake get into a fallout, and Jake decides that he doesn't want to play baseball anymore because it's just,
boo.
that's his thing with his dad, and he wants to rebel.
Mm.
And so he's at the holodeck kind of griping to the baseball player about his dad and asking him. Well, I wrote it as Michael Jordan. And this was at the time when Jordan's left basketball and started playing baseball.
Yeah.
So in my Holosuite program, Jordan was a famous baseball player, and I'm talking with him and saying that I got in a fight with my dad and I want to play a new game. Is there any game that you'd recommend?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Does he say basketball?
Yeah, he does say basketball. He's like, there's this other sport I used to play. And that would be the little joke. It would also be a chance to get Michael Jordan on an episode of this.
Yeah, right?
Oh, that would be so cool, dude.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, that was the goal. And so I pitched the idea. I wrote it, pitched it, and had a good time with the writers. And, they gave me the time of day at least to sit down and listen and hear it out. And they eventually told me that, one, Michael Jordan would be impossible to get on the show. And the other thing was that this episode was kind of like the Next Generation episode where everybody was addicted to the video game. And
not terribly close, but yeah.
Oh, exactly.
So I hadn't seen that episode, the Next Generation one that they're talking about. So I didn't.
And it wasn't that good. Yours sounds better.
Reference.
And by the way, let's just go on record in saying that, of course, Star Trek would never recycle story ideas from series to series, right? Come on.
What was the third episode of Next Gen again? Wasn't it like the Naked Now?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Same thing. I mean, it seems like every series, they have like episodes where you're like, oh, that's just like the episode in Deep Space Nine, Voyager does it or whatever.
Well, it's almost impossible to not have an overlap of some sort of a theme or an idea.
700 episodes.
Now the Orville is doing episodes that are similar to previous Star Trek episodes because they're kind of taking over that mantle.
But if you're going to deal with sexism or racism or any one of these topics, it's going to repeat itself at some point or another, even if it's written out a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally. It would have been cool though if they said, "Look, we can't afford Michael Jordan. There's no way." But Bo Jackson, Bo Jackson does a lot of different sports. Bo knows tennis.
I would have been good with Bo Jackson, to be honest with you.
Totally,
no complaints here. But the thing is, at the time, I asked Avery about this because Avery was good friends with Michael Jordan's dad.
Oh.
At the time when he was alive. And I was telling Avery, hey, I got this episode I wrote, I want to get Jordan involved. And he was like, yeah, I'll get Jordan. So when the writers were telling me Jordan's impossible, I'm like, no, Avery can get Jordan. I was like, Avery will get Jordan. They're like, we don't have the budget for it. I'm like, no, it could be done. I'm sure it could be done.
Let the emissary handle it.
Let the emissary handle it.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah. And I think there's been other athletes that have been on Star Trek, like James Worthy, right? He played a Klingon.
Right, James Worthy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was like, hey, let's at least give it a shot.
Dwayne Johnson.
Right.
Yeah, and Paul White, the giant, was an Orion in Enterprise as well.
Yeah, the reason I thought Jordan would have liked it is because it was actually in the way it was written, made it look like Jordan was more famous as a baseball player.
Yeah, that's creative. I picked that up when you said that. That's really
and he was really trying to sell himself as a baseball player at that time, so he'd been like, yeah, I like that
idea.
Yeah,
exactly. So here we are in the future. We're looking back. He's more known as a baseball player from my perspective than as a basketball player. So that would have been like a little stroke on his ego that I thought he would have liked, and it would have, kind of given a little incentive.
So this was right around third, fourth season, probably like fourth season or something like that, right?
Right. I wonder where I have that script.
You should totally think about making it into a book. I mean, there's a lot of those books out there. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it would be a good little story.
As long as everything kind of goes back to how it was, towards the end, then it can fit right in, and it doesn't disturb canon in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't think of it that way. I was just, I looked at it as a challenge to write an episode, and at that time I had seen now at this point other actors were directing episodes. And so I was like, well, I don't think I'll have a chance to direct an episode because I'm only about 18 years old. So I doubt that they're going to be like, yeah, we'll give him the responsibility to run the show here. But I felt like I could write an episode. Totally. And since I was a writer already, and so I took my ideas and just made it. So really it was accomplishment for me personally, just to see, can I do it? Set a goal for myself. Yeah. And I got it done. So,
and it's awesome. Big kudos to you for doing it, and big kudos to them for taking you seriously. I mean, most people would be like 18-year-old. I mean, like, hey, I don't know, but they listened to you. They liked the idea, and you can tell that they really considered it because they gave you an actual legitimate reason why it wouldn't work. They didn't just say, okay, thanks very much. We'll think about it. We'll let you know.
Exactly.
They thought about it and they said, damn, that won't work because such and such. Whatever. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you did have a B plot, which I don't think this episode even had a B plot, did it? I mean, if there was one, I didn't
did
really
it have an A plot? No, I'm just
oh man,
I'm just kidding. You're right. There was no B plot. Sometimes they do that in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah. The last time I was on the show, there wasn't one for that one either.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I guess you're right about that.
I can't even think of like a secondary, angle on the A plot.
No,
this is all Dax basically.
Yeah, one thing Ryan and I were talking about earlier on too was it was really hard to figure out what actually happened. Like back with what was the guy's name again?
Duran.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Duran. That's what I wrote down.
Duran.
Hey.
So he clearly went into the training. He clearly was unstable. He clearly got the Dax symbiote. He probably killed this other person, but how did he get the Dax symbiote? I mean, there was another episode, I don't think it's come up yet, where somebody like basically steals the Dax symbiote and put it in, but it didn't sound like it was that. It sounded like he like somehow legit got it, but even though he was unstable, I guess.
Right.
And like, why did he kill this random professor? And how did they then kill him? And that's how they got it out? I mean, what?
Well,
there's a lot of sort of gaps there.
We're about to go to our first break right now. So let's talk about that when we get on the other side, because I think that's really the meat of what we want to talk about here is kind of like, fill in the blanks for us because we couldn't figure it out when we watched it. But we will be right back with Mohamed Noor on the Seventh Rule.
Mirror Universe, Ryan Husk.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Also joined by Professor Mohamed Noor. Some call him Dr. Mohamed Noor.
Or Mirror Universe Ryan T. Husk.
my name is Prime Universe Ryan T. Husk, and we are reviewing Equilibrium, and we're having a great time talking about it for like the minute and a half that we discussed it. Before we go, before we get into that, I'll say very quickly the trivioids that didn't make the cutting room floor because none of them did. Mohamed successfully defeated me in the battle of. Well, I'm saying none of them actually made it. So one was the Siskos have a dinner party. Sisko tells Odo it's all on the wrist. I thought that was fun. Bashir hates Beets, but Dax loves them. Odo is the worst stirrer ever. Jake took Casio keyboard lessons, but doesn't really play. That's not funny. Dax's humming annoys Sisko during their chess match, which we discussed. That was pretty awesome. Well, kind of. Dax sees the faceless man from Game of Thrones. That's Jack and Hagar. Our first trip to the Trill homeworld. I like that a lot. Curzon fell out of a tree once. We learned that. So that is a very important little tidbit now that we know that at one point Curzon fell out of a tree. Here was critical. The USS Defiant has exactly 0 blankets on board. Did you notice when they were in their beds in the Defiant, they were in bed and there were no blankets. They were just lying on the bed. They weren't even like lying on a blanket, and it was just like too hot to put it on. They just no blankets.
Yeah, they might have like a little heater or something going. I don't know.
Like a cot.
Yeah, it's climate control in that bed, man.
But even when it's too hot for a blanket, don't you at least want like a sheet or something? It just kind of feels.
Yeah, it feels good. No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, a little security.
Symbionts can be very cranky if things aren't perfect. Dr. Raynal has nothing to do with kidneys. It's a science joke for you.
Good, I like it. I love it.
Because renal means kidneys. Yep. And Jadzia steals Jake's Casio keyboard. Anyway.
Dr. Raynal. No mention of isoboramine, huh?
I forgot how to pronounce it. I did put it in my notes though. I
looked it up to see if that was something real. I Googled it. I couldn't see. No.
Okay.
That's why we got you here. So
yeah, I Googled it. I didn't know. I just Googled it. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, like isoboramine levels? Yeah, I felt like it could be something, but no, it's not.
No, I Googled it. It went straight to like memory alpha or something like that.
Whoa, okay. Sisko Kid mug too, huh?
Oh yeah, we're breaking it out. Boom.
Nice.
Woo. Check out the Sisko Kid mug and shirt that Cirroc's sister makes. You can look for it online, AbyssinianKiosk.com, I think. Also Instagram, Abyssinian Kiosk. Check it out. She makes awesome designs. Also, Professor Mohamed Noor has a new YouTube channel. Do you want to tell us about that real quick?
Oh,
sure. So they're basically short versions of talks I would give at conventions on like a couple of quick scientific concepts, but using examples from Star Trek. So for example, the first one is something along the lines of why are there so many humanoids in Star Trek? And I have a little bit from the chase and talk about why that doesn't quite work the way they presented it, but there are ways to make other aspects work. So just as one example, but it's fun. They're all like 6 to 10 minutes. They're pretty short because nobody wants to sit there and watch a 45-minute me just talking by myself.
Yeah, and your most recent one, just like yesterday or the day before, you did Voyager's infamous episode Threshold. So, Rock, if you ever hear us making jokes about Janeway and Tom Paris having lizard babies, it's that way, even though they're amphibians, obviously.
Okay.
So what's the YouTube channel called so people could check it out?
BioTrekkie Explains.
Got it. Check it out, guys. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So you do the scientific breakdowns of different things.
Yep. Well, actually, awesome. I do it more as like a quick intro with the episode, and then I do like, well, here's the real science, and then like, how well does it work or not work?
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I like that.
Thank you.
Which is kind of why Star Trek brought you on as a consultant, right? For exactly that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to know, like the isoboramine, Are we getting BS or is this legit?
We are.
Well, interesting. So the Trill are an interesting case here, right? Because the Trill, it's a joined species. Mm-hmm. Now, it's funny because on the one hand, that seems just bizarre. But on the other hand, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. In some sense, almost every species, like almost any like vertebrate species, like we are in some sense sort of joint species because we have like digestive bacteria and stuff like that in our guts that
tons
are doing
in our mouth too,
right? And they're actually important. I mean, like, or take cows. Cows are a great example. They have that stomach thing where there's bacteria in there that break down the grass. That without that, they couldn't get any nutrition out of what they're eating. So in some sense, they're kind of a joined species too, because the bacteria are benefiting, the cow is benefiting. So that kind of is cool. What's interesting is these guys, these giant slugs or whatever they are. What I was trying to think about just this morning, just thinking about this episode, I was trying to think, what's the evolutionary history for how these humanoids got associated with the giant slug?
I thought the same thing this morning.
There you go, Prime Universe.
Because I was wondering, and maybe this, was, the question is, when did they come together? Right? When did this happen? And I started thinking, well, maybe
come with the same explanation I did.
Maybe it was just that the symbionts used to be with some other alien, and then like that didn't work out, or that they,
different. Okay.
And then then they found these show. But I was like, well, no, wait, because then how did they join up with those original aliens in the first place?
So my theory is that they started in those weird pools kind of thing, right? That they were there. And humans would go swimming, and when they'd go swimming in there, somehow those electric signals were actually getting them, like somehow they'd get this like memory out of the zap or something like that. Yeah. Like somehow it was activating their neurons in some particular way. So then they started getting more and closer, and then maybe they started carrying them around. And eventually, like, well, instead of carrying you around in this tank, we could open up my belly and put you inside.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly. That I was thinking it always starts with one. Like there was one guy that was super nutty. Yeah. And he was just like, I'm just going to put this freaking thing in my stomach. Everybody thought he was crazy. But then they're like, wow, look, he's got all this added wisdom and knowledge. And suddenly he seems enlightened. And he's like, dude, you should try this. This is good stuff, Yeah.
And to some extent, you become almost immortal because, the essence of you keeps going from there on. Right. I mean, not in a genetic sense, you're not more, because in a genetic sense, your body's gone. But
your memory, though.
Exactly. Your memory, your personality lives on in some weird sort of way.
But then the question is, the symbionts, how did they really exist before they had the Trill? Because they seem like basically useless creatures that can't even take care of themselves. So maybe they just
so
became dependent evolutionarily.
Well, I mean, do we know they're dependent? I mean, we know that like the guy who was stirring the stuff and adding stuff and saying they were fussy. I mean, they may have been okay without all that. They just may be like kind of jerks now. Like they're really entitled.
Like house cats.
Yeah, right.
We just thousands of years ago we just started feeding them, and they started becoming more and more and more dependent on us.
Right?
And then they think they've got us trained. They're like, all I have to do is walk up and this idiot feeds me. This is great.
And meow more, and eventually.
Do the trill itself have an identity? Do they have a personality? Do they have a?
You're talking about the slugs?
The slugs themselves.
It's a good question. Like, do they have one before the first joining? Like when a trill baby is born, is it just blank slate?
Yeah, that's the question.
That is a good question. I don't know if they've covered whether the Dax symbiont actually has an identity outside of its hosts.
Yeah, before the first host. That's a good question. No, I like it. I don't know.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would add to the hypothesis about these trill and how they merged with, humanoid people is they could have evolved in size as well. They could have probably not have started off at this large slug size.
Maybe they're like leeches at first.
Right.
Right. They kind of just worm their way in, like tapeworms.
Oh God.
That's what I mean. That's what I was thinking. If they started out smaller, maybe one of them got ingested while somebody's swimming in that pool. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, no,
this is great. I want everybody watching on YouTube, please let us know in the comments below if you think, first of all, that the symbionts have their own personality. Like they were born with an actual personality, and then the host just kind of added to it, or if you think they're just kind of like a blank slate, and they just start. The more hosts they have, the more personality they just grow. I don't know if they've covered that, but it's a really interesting question.
Who knew I would come up with something interesting out of that episode? When I was stuck on Sid in his pajamas,
Oh my gosh, those pajamas.
Yeah, I was like,
pajama party.
I was like Dr. Bashir in his pajamas, yeah.
So I have a question for you, Cirroc. So with both this episode and the last time I was on for Collaborator, it feels like they needed 2 more minutes to really explain stuff. Did they, like, for episodes you were on, did they cut a lot? Like, was there a lot of stuff where, like, oh yeah, we can't fit this in. We're just gonna cut like a bunch of the dialogue here at the end, or was it just pretty much what they filmed was in the show?
Yeah, that's a good question. A lot of stuff was revised and cut. I remember having like prepared whole scenes, and then the next day, instead of like 3 pages of dialogue to explain something, it becomes like a half a page.
Yeah.
And so you have to find a way they cut out what they think is the fat, and we'll try to reduce it. But in the cutting of the fat, you do lose, get example, in this episode, I wasn't clear on a lot of things.
Yeah.
I wasn't clear exactly how this murderous host was able to get away with all this. And
why they didn't detect he was crazy at first, and gave him a symbiont.
Right, and how this didn't show up before, and it just now is becoming something that's an issue to deal with. Yeah. I didn't feel like it was enough explanation on all of these kinds of things. They left us to kind of fill in the blanks about it. And then when they add the mystery mask people, I'm thinking, do I have to know who that is? Who is that?
I know.
So they're throwing me completely away from where I need to be.
Yeah.
Because I'm so invested in like what's behind that mask and who is it, and so instead of explaining how the trill function and the the science behind it, and the history behind it, I felt like they were kind of trying to lead me on a mysterious path, and I still feel a little bit mysterious about it.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it was also the format at the time when they used to have commercials at these sort of almost set times. So they basically have it like scene. Then like there's sort of the climax ending, and then there's the after commercial sort of round off scene. I wonder if that really constrained it, where like that climax scene, given that Deep Space Nine tends to have much more intricate plots. It's not just a like, oh, we cornered the bad guy and now we have a fight. It's usually a lot more in depth and thoughtful than that. So I wonder if it may suffer disproportionately relative to a lot of shows, because it's hard to cram all that into that little piece.
Yeah, there's a very clear formula that they always had to follow, and sometimes the story couldn't adhere to it, but it would have to. They had to figure out a way to do it. And the thing, we were talking about this a little bit before we were recording, is that they kind of left out. What the heck? Sorry, something popped up. They kind of left out so much of the story or at least the explanation. And what really bothered me about that was that the real meat and potatoes, the real bones of this had a very good story. And I wish they would have just focused on that rather than this masked guy and all this other stuff and water and whatever. Because the real essence of this is that Dax had an extra lifetime, had an extra host. Jadzia thought she was the 7th host. Turns out she's an 8th host, which gives so much more depth to her and the character. I mean, they could have just spent the episode on
just focusing on that. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Agreed.
Yeah. And what they did was they made Bashir the doctor who was figuring this kind of stuff out. And then he had to pass that doctor expert baton on to the Trill doctor who performed
Dr. Renal.
Right. And so all of this kind of made you think, okay, well then it's this doctor, and then there was the guy who was in charge of the pool of Trills, and he was the crucial link all of a sudden. And so it just kept sending me this way, and eventually it was all about this missing Trill host who played the piano and then that kind of stuff. And it seemed odd that it all came from my Casio. from my piano. It basically all started this mess.
It's true.
Well, you didn't use it enough.
Yeah. Earlier on, I was wondering if if the previous host killed somebody with the piano or something like that. Or not holding the piano, but I meant like somebody who played the piano, she killed them or something like that. But no, it was actually the player who was the killer, I guess.
Yeah. So it was
hard to follow.
It was very hard to follow. Ryan, I don't know if you found it easy or not, but I found it difficult to follow.
It was the same thing. It was that it's okay sometimes if it's hard to follow. It's okay as long as it all makes sense in the end, right? Then we kind of go, okay, it was worth the extra brain work, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is for me at least, when it's hard to follow and then the end happens and I go, wait,
but why? Yeah.
And then I go, let me go back for the final 2 minutes and watch it again to see what I missed. And I'm like, no. Okay. Jake and his Casio. Okay. I'm like, then what? And then you just start thinking, did I miss this? I
feel like it just needs 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
A
little bit of explanation.
I agree.
But I did like the final takeaway was that Jadzia has an extra character, so she's actually the 8th and not the 7th. Actually, I pulled up the list today. So it's Layla Dax or Leela, Tobin, we hear that one all the time. Emily, we hear a lot. Audrid, Tarius, we hear a lot, and now Duran Dax, Curzon Dax, Jadzia Dax, and soon to be Esri.
Yeah. Well, there's that one who briefly steals her too.
There's Varad Dax. I think that was the one you're talking about.
Is that the one? Right? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And then there's also a Yedrin Dax that I don't remember who that is, but they are under the category of alternate hosts.
No, the Yedrin, I think that was on remember the planet where the shuttlecraft crashed and they saw themselves 200 years in the future? I think that was the Yedrin one. And like there was the old Odo there, but Kira had died.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
So the 9 I mentioned are the official hosts, and these 2 are alternate hosts.
Yeah, I think that's where Yedrin was from, because that sounds familiar from that.
Got it.
Tobin and Tarius were both country singers. Just for the record.
Tobin and Tarius, that's pretty good. And they do mention most of them. We hear, Curzon's the one they mention the most. Curzon obviously got another NAM, but we try not to count those because otherwise Curzon's going to get a NAM every episode and he's going to destroy everybody by 100.
Yeah. The old man.
Mm-hmm.
There was a line in here though that they always throw in one of these lines that are like, I don't know, like a Confucius line.
This is when we need the graphic. Jake Sisko's best written line of the show?
They
I guess I ruined it with my graphic idea. I tried to spice things up.
If you want to know who you are, know it.
Sorry, you kind of faded in and out on us, Cirroc. Give it a second, and then you'll come back, and then you can tell us what that line is.
Right.
If you want to know who you are, I'm trying to remember what that line was. One line I was waiting for was when Dax says, "Is my symbiont going to reject it?" And Bashir says, "Oh, I wouldn't worry about rejection just yet." And I was waiting for him to say, "I get rejected all the time." Whatever.
We got Cirroc back.
Yeah. Anyway, so Cirroc, you're back. What was the line of the night?
No, it was just it was toward the very end, and it was just if you want to know who you are, it's important to know who you've been.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they always drop a line.
That's funny, actually. That particular line, I remember my kids were watching with me when we saw that, and my son Adam was like, "That pretty much just applies to her."
Yeah, I thought that's what I was thinking when Cirroc said that too. It's like, well, it works for joined krill specifically.
Yeah, for the people in their past lives. But
yeah, right.
But maybe it applies to us because we were different people at different points in our life. Like
It's true. In a more general sense, yeah, I agree.
Middle school.
I remember my
Ryan
son's
was
comment
very
on that. That was hilarious when he said that.
That only applies to her, Dad.
Yeah.
How old are your kids?
My son's 15 and my daughter's 20. They both happen to watch that with me.
Oh wow.
Nice.
What did they think about Star Trek in general?
My son's a fan. I mean, he's gone to conventions and things like that. He's met a lot of folks. He actually met Aaron before too. I mean, he's all in. My daughter is, she kind of like watches it from a distance, and she's not totally into it, but she's seen enough now that she knows all the characters and all the shows reasonably well. But she's not as into it.
You guys watch it together, or do they watch it on their own?
No, my son and I watch it together all the time. Like we watched all of Voyager, most of Deep Space Nine, all of Enterprise, all of Discovery and Picard. He wasn't a fan of Next Generation, but I think he's 15. Like you see that it's very sociological and it's a little dated.
Commander dated.
Yes, it is a little dated.
Yeah.
But I remember being around the set and loving how bright and cheerful the set was.
Oh yeah, because you were that age at the time.
Yeah,
right.
It was just like
Deep Space Nine was a lot darker,
and it was more Merone set than it was like a. Well, I think I look at Game of Thrones a little bit dark, the sets and stuff, but
sometimes literally like that last season where that was the episode where they fought the zombie army. Where it was just like the whole screen was just black.
Episode. Yeah, you're like you have
so
all the lights off, and you're still like going, wait.
I was watching on my iPad. I turned the brightness all the way up, and I'm kind of looking.
Yeah, that was too much.
Yeah, exactly. But then you go to the Next Generation set, and it was like these really beautiful colors of these pastellies and these brights.
Yeah.
And everything was so bright and like perfectly clean carpets and everything. It was a show. It was a really showpiece.
Yeah.
That's how Voyager was too. Much brighter as far as the colors. A little less pastel, but still bright. So we've got a few minutes left to put this episode to bed. By the way, for those of you watching, we're going to go to the free-for-all in a few minutes. Some things to look forward to. Our associate producer, Marie Segal, has a pretty cool doctor. That's right. She has a pretty interesting little piece of trivia, little tease there about this episode specifically, which she usually does. And our Trek text came up with a pretty interesting question for the free-for-all that they claim is the best question we've ever asked on any free-for-all.
Whoa.
Well, when you wave your hand like that, then it really...
like a Jedi.
Yeah.
This is the best episode ever.
You will open the door.
Yeah.
No,
the droids you're looking for.
So what are our final thoughts on this episode before we put it to bed? I mean, How did you feel about that Guardian guy? That was one guy that I kind of wanted to talk about.
I feel like it would have been nice to have a little bit more with him too. Again, it's where like another couple of minutes would have been kind of nice because it's funny how they commented when he first showed up, like, oh, watch out for them. They tend to be kind of
right
off kilter or something. I can't remember the exact verbiage that she used at the time. So that was kind of funny. And then it was this quirky guy, but then he was really scared later. It would have been nice to have had a little bit more, fleshed out a little bit because it seemed interesting.
Cirroc, do you agree?
Oh no! Definitely internet troubles there.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm here.
Sorry, we keep losing you.
I don't know why I'm dropping in and out. I don't know.
Maybe you got a lot of apps open. Sometimes when we have a lot of apps open, it kind of sucks up the Wi-Fi a little bit. What did you think about that guy, the Guardian fellow? More of him, less of him, indifferent?
Well, it seemed like he had all the key crucial information in this episode. It was like, well, why would he would be the guy to ask everything about, because he knew all the background stories. He knew, the Trills really intimately. So he'd be the person to kind of go to right away. I felt like I wanted to know more from him.
Yeah.
And they could have given him a little bit more of the screen time than that they gave the doctor. But, there were a lot of things that I felt like could have been done a little bit smoother and better in this episode.
Here's my line of the day. When they're playing chess, Sisko and Dax, that is, she's humming and he's getting annoyed by it. And she says, "Oh, sorry, I can't get it out of my head." And Sisko says, "Do me a favor. Try."
Try.
I was like, nice. That's a fun one.
That's funny.
He did have another fun line too, and I don't.
Avery's deliveries are so excellent.
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Yes. He had another line.
Oh,
too,
that's what it was. The Ractigino line where he says, tell him to get a cup of Ractigino. He won't be needed. When they said that the next doctor's coming in right now to transfer the Dax symbiont over.
Yep.
He said, go get a cup of coffee, pal. We don't need you.
I was surprised that doctor knew the whole backstory because, as far as I could tell, she was just some random doctor at the hospital. But she seemed to know everything. Like
she was certainly younger than 85 years old, so she wasn't there.
Yeah, well, I mean, as Trill, yeah. She's beyond too, and it's the older version of her.
Mm-hmm.
Sisko had another line where he said, "Do you understand?" The way he delivered that line.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah, Corvin, that was the cup of Ractigino guy, Corvin. Okay.
But overall, not my favorite episode.
Oh,
okay. Middle of the pack.
It was middle of the pack. Yeah, it was.
Before we go, this is speaking of middle of the pack. This is the big question that we close out with. Cirroc, Lofton, guess the IMDb rating.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I will say 6.5.
Mohamed, if you haven't already checked IMDb, what's your guess?
I guess higher. I'd say 7.1.
If you were to average both of your numbers exactly, what would that be?
7.1 be
6.7, 6.8.
6.8, and that's what it was.
Hey, we did it
so
together.
You guys combined.
Hey.
You take the high road, I take the low road.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, 6.8. Not the lowest of this season, if I remember correctly, but I'm not
really
giving anything away. I feel like everyone's.
I'm surprised. That's surprising.
So stay tuned for that. Anyway, we will be right back with the free-for-all. Mohamed, we hope you stick around for the free-for-all.
Oh, totally.
Awesome. And we hope you guys stick around for the free-for-all. And tell us in your comments below what you thought of this episode, because there's a lot of stuff to talk
one
about.
more thing, too. I want Mohamed to give us the name of this show that he's working on, too, one more time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, on the YouTube channel, it's called BioTrekkie Explains.
BioTrekkie Explains. Okay.
Yeah,
check it out.
Like biology, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you on the other side. We'll be right back with the 7th rule. Oh, by the way, let's Give a special thank you to Yvette Blackmon, Rex A. Wood, Dennis Koch, Homer Frizzell, Eve England, Marie Segal, Carmen Shamwell, and Mr. Rob Hoffman. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Seventh Rule. This is the free-for-all with Cirroc, Lofton, Mohamed, Noor, Homer Frizzell, Cat R. King, Rex A. Wood, PJ, Tomas, newcomer, stuck out in Madrid, by the way, Heather Jordan, and Dr. Marie Segal. PJ, very quickly, Madrid, what's it like over there right now?
Well, it was bad here for a while, but now everything's getting much better. And they actually, because it was so serious at the beginning, people took the confinement and the social distancing very seriously. So it looks like it's worked.
Awesome.
That's
good. Awesome.
Very nice.
So today we reviewed Equilibrium, Deep Space Nine's Equilibrium, and Marie Segal has a pretty cool piece of trivia regarding that episode. You want to tell us?
Okay. Do you remember his name that I sent it to you? I just don't know if I can look it up. Isn't it Jay Chataway? Am I right, Ryan?
Something Chataway, yeah.
It's Jay Chataway. So the same composer from The Inner Light, which is now the Picard theme song, actually did like this little trill ditty that we hear in this episode.
Oh, he composed it?
Yeah. Which when you look it up, he composes tons of music for, like, especially Voyager, he got some Emmy nominations for, but, like, since these are two, like, in the show, you're supposed to hear them in the show, I thought it was really cool.
Anne-Marie, where are you? Are you social distancing?
I am. I'm on the roof. I just have to show you how, I just have to show you how cute this little duck is in the pond, like, with sunglasses. I don't know if you can see him.
Is that a pond on the roof?
Yeah, it's so nice.
New York is so weird.
Yeah.
I would never guess he's in New York. Like, I would never have guessed.
That's not a pool, right? That's a pond.
It's like a water feature that just like makes rippling noises, and there's a duck with sunglasses that floats around.
Nice feature.
But I think they left him up all winter because he looks like he's been through some rough times. Kind of faded. I know.
Cirroc's always a little faded when he does the show, too.
Little faded is how you got to start it out.
That is an understatement.
All right. So Heather and Kat, we set it up. We told everybody that we've got the best question in the history of the show that you guys have prepared for us. So no pressure.
Okay, so we came up with this silly little thing where it's what food would you like assign to a Star Trek like planet or species? So like, for example, we said that Dukat would eat octopus. Like, just we thought that was, we both thought that actually separately. Okay. So do you want me to go ahead and say mine?
Yeah, start us
Okay,
off.
so I was saying that Bajorans would eat tacos.
Why?
So,
do we have to say why when we give our answers? I
yes.
think we should.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like.
Okay.
Okay.
So why Bajoran tacos? Because it's always Tuesday.
Portable. Yeah, it's always Tuesday. That's exactly it.
Probably with fire sauce.
I just see, like, you know, because you can like wrap it up in a little burrito, take it to go. Feel like tacos for Bajorans.
Got it. Hang on one second. We've got Carmen Shamwell jumping in with us too. Hello, Carmen. How are you? Hi, Carmen.
Carmen in the house.
Yep. We just started recording, and to answer your question, these go at the end of every episode. So this is like the last 15 to 30 minutes of every episode. And the question is, Heather, you want to give the question one more time? And the example?
What food would you assign to either a species or a planet in Star Trek? So, like, for example, like we said Dukat would eat octopus. So, like, and I said tacos for Bajorans. So that's where we're at so far, to recap.
It's like more like what kind of human food do you think that, like?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, what do you think Vulcans would eat? I actually have an idea for Vulcans, but
like Deanna Troi would eat chocolate, theoretically.
Right,
Obviously.
Yeah. For sure.
Like, that's too easy.
But
So
she's
Kat,
not human, so it makes sense that she would already, but I'd be curious to know, like, you know, what kind of human food would attract.
what's your answer, Kat?
I don't have one because I completely forgot about it.
Aw.
Wait, think while we go through everybody else.
I will think about it. You go.
Okay.
I think
Text
Anne
you what
Marie
you
has
said.
an answer.
Yeah, Anne-Marie's got like 20.
I don't know. I'm gonna say Ryza fudgesicles.
For who?
Ryza.
Oh yeah,
The
right.
planet.
Yeah. Like a fun, delicious food that also has chocolate in it and it's frozen. They'd love it.
Froyo. Risons for Froyo.
Oh, I got one. I think Morn would like to eat Pop Rocks.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say cotton candy. That's a good one.
Because they're noisy like him. He never shuts up, right?
Oh yeah.
So true.
All right, Mohamed, what do you think? You got something?
I was thinking
for
about
us?
the Vulcan thing. I was thinking they just want like some really simple protein
Yes.
extract. 'Cause it's like, why mess
Super
around?
bland.
Right? It's just some
I
protein.
had-
Yeah, right. Basically tofu.
That's
right?
where I was going with
Shredded
Vulcan's protein.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you or save it to the end? I'll save it to the end. My protein.
Oh, what a tease.
I know. I didn't want to take anyone else's, like, if they have a thought, I don't want to take
You're
it because
right.
I've already given an answer, so
Yeah.
I'll save it for the end.
What about you, Homer?
I would
Your
still
thoughts?
protein.
Oh, cool. Elkar's background, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I, need
I
one of
think
those.
Martok, I know we haven't gotten to him. I think he would have steak tartare and
Ooh.
throw the toast points at other people trying to get the sharp ends to hit them. Oh, and he would not use a fork or anything like that. He'd
Oh,
use
just
his
eat it with
hands.
his hands? Yeah.
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 Would he call it
See
steak
that.
mar?
I don't
I don't think
Homer
Homer's
enjoyed
gonna,
that
That
joke.
question was directed at you, Homer.
Is it?
like, no,
Oh,
I'm not.
sometimes an answer can be given in silence.
I think that spoke volumes, yeah.
I didn't know we could do
I
it. If we
felt
do
that.
individuals, I'd give a different answer. I was thinking of species, but if we do individuals,
Well, we could do individuals too.
Oh, okay.
If they're also a species.
And situation.
Do you have an
Yeah,
individual?
it's like and
yeah,
or.
Kai Wynn, liver pate,
Oh.
tencious.
Pate and her trapdoor and her snifter. You know?
Her fancy crackers.
Yes.
Yes.
Amazing. Out of like one of those icing bags so that it's extra frilly.
What about you,
Oh my gosh.
Cirroc?
That's a good one. I'm gonna say the Ferengi would eat sweet potato fries.
Yum.
Oh, really fast. I don't know if you guys talked about this, but were they actually cooking food
I
like
don't
in the
know why.
Sisko's quarters?
With ketchup. With,
Were they
oh,
actually
yeah.
cooking food like on that set?
They
Oh,
looked like it.
yeah, a little bit. Yes,
Oh,
they had
man,
a
it
little.
looks
They
so
had
good.
a little burner underneath there.
Out the fire marshal.
Yeah.
Did you get
wasn't
to eat
a
it after?
full-out- I don't think any one of us wanted to eat any of
Oh,
it.
okay.
Well, like sometimes on movies or like
That's what I
TV shows, they
figured.
do like food
Yeah.
things. Like they'll like use oil for
Sure.
like syrup. So
Or
like maybe it wasn't
paint to thicken up
actually
the cheese.
edible.
No, they usually used edible stuff on our show. So I mean,
Yeah,
you
this
could
one was
eat,
like bubbling like real.
Yeah, you could eat it or drink it, but the problem is every actor knows that you don't want to really get caught eating in a scene because they're gonna film it 25 times from different angles,
Oh yeah.
and you don't want to be the one like eating that meatball in every scene from every angle.
Amazing.
You die.
After a while, you're like, all right, I can't do this.
Cirroc,
think
do you
just
remember
getting
what
back
kind
to
of...
the
Go ahead.
Oh, just wanted to, before I forget, the sweet potato fries. I think
Yeah.
that actually is really good for Ferengis because they tend to be kind of soft and floppy, kind of like tube grubs.
Oh.
Exactly.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was thinking, Homer.
that's what I thought.
Gummy
How
worms.
much do they cost, though?
They're $1 more than regular fries,
Yeah.
so I
If you
don't
buy in bulk, they're cheaper.
know. Cirroc, I was going to make a bad Michael Burner joke, but I'm moving on from that.
Thank you.
because-
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Some things are best said in silence.
Yeah. Cat
right.
R. King, what do you think? Did you get one?
I did remember what I had said before, which is I think that the Kardashians would super be into fish tacos, especially fish tacos. No reason.
See that?
Rex is not convinced, but I think
No.
No fish.
This is making me so hungry.
I am.
Yeah.
Okay, PJ, what about you? Do you have something for us?
I was just thinking that Vulcans might be, you know, they don't really take pleasure in their dining, so I think these would be very simple, like something maybe like broccoli. And the broccoli on Earth is so much better than the broccoli on Vulcan. So
That's what I hear.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
It's like American corn is sweeter than like corn in like other parts of
That's true.
The world. So like Africa and whatnot. So could be like that. Broccoli tastes better here.
Now, Lieutenant Broccoli.
Do they cook that broccoli, or is that
broccoli?
Are they going to eat it raw?
They'd
that's
steam
a good
it.
question.
They'd steam it because you lose all the flavor. No.
No, the less flavor, the better.
Yeah.
Carmen, what do you think? Do you have any thoughts on a particular character or alien species that they kind of food they would like?
I think North Indian or South Indian cuisine, pretty spicy. I think both Phlox and Neelix would both be into that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd love to see them both just go to town and like start sweating. Like still really enjoy the food.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure Neelix did cook that at some point, or at least some like variation of that, you know, with alien food.
Probably.
Did we get everyone? Did we get Rex? Did we ask you?
No, Rex didn't get one yet.
Oh, so mine would be Andorians. Andorians, and they would eat blue raspberry popsicles.
That's an amazing answer too.
They just eat blue.
That is a
blue
good
food,
one.
blueberries.
Yep, blueberries. Yep.
All the blue food.
Anything blue.
Yep, all the
Yeah.
blues. Yep.
Anybody want to
like
sing
that.
the song?
What
The
song?
blues song,
Oh.
whoever that
I'm
was.
blue. Dabba-dee, dabba-dee.
There it is.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, I get it.
So
Took a minute.
easy. All right.
Is that the Oompa Loompa song? You guys lost me.
Blue.
It's the Blue Man song or whatever, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Everybody
I
knows.
was
I can hear it in my head.
Oompa Loompa Loompa-dee.
I've heard
I
that
heard.
one.
All right. How about this, guys? Who is your favorite Dax host, excluding Jadzia and Esri?
Oh,
This is
ow.
when we separate the normal people from the
Geez,
nerds.
no.
Casuals from the, you know, like
Wow.
hardcore Trekkies.
Yeah. We're going to start with Anne Marie, since this is probably easy for, she probably already knows her top three at this point.
I think the one who was like the first female politician on Trill. I want to say that's Emily, but I think Emily's the wrong one. I'm really bad at the Trill names.
It was like Dela or Sela, something like that.
Oh, I think Emily maybe was the gymnast.
She was.
It's on his list.
It's on my cram list whenever I do trivia, but I have to like read through
Layla.
all like the hosts.
Okay, are we all?
Yeah, Lita.
No, it says
Like,
Layla
it's
or
Layla,
Leela.
not
Layla.
There's Tobin, Emily, and Ivory. There's Audrid. There's Tarius, and now there's Duran, and Curzon, of course, the favorite.
and Esri.
Well, she's excluded from this. Easy
Yeah,
answer.
he said we can't do
There has
that.
to be a
Okay.
Dax.
Does
Dax
anybody
is
else
like
have one, or is this one just?
I have to leave.
I think
any-
Mohammed's
I
got a
like
favorite.
Lenara. I like Lenara
I-
Khan's
I
character.
really liked the episode that had Yedrin, even though Yedrin didn't end up being such a great person. I really liked that episode a lot. So I'd go with Yedrin.
Great answer.
Thanks.
I like Lenara. I like Lenara Khan. I like that. You got to learn a little bit more about their.
And I'll go with Varad, who had Dax temporarily, wasn't an official host, but had her or him or whatever it is for one episode. If you guys remember that one, that was in the second season. Homer, do you
Was
have
that
a
when
favorite?
Jadzia was sick?
Yeah,
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't crammed for trivia, and I didn't pay as much attention to this episode. I certainly didn't take any notes,
Oh,
but I
geez.
like the idea of Curzon and picturing him hanging out with all of those Klingons. And so I know it's an easy answer, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, Curzon.
Yeah.
He's definitely the favorite, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We saw like flashbacks of what like Curzon looked like in DS9 at some point? Yeah, we did. Okay. I just haven't seen those.
Do you guys remember what Curzon looked like in that first few episodes or whatever it was?
I remember him being really old and lying on the bed and looking over and seeing Jadzia.
Right. If you can picture him, back in the day when I wanted to do a Star Trek fan film, I wanted it was going to be a little bit before Deep Space Nine, and Curzon Dax was going to be in it, and I wanted to cast Mark Alimo as Curzon Dax. And if you actually look at Mark Alimo now and the picture of Curzon Dax back then, it was perfect.
Good call.
So Rex is looking up all the hosts right now. I can see him.
That's a hard one for me, but I did find one that was kind of out there. Is Emily Dax? Emily Dax, who was the gymnast.
Yeah, that's what Anne-Marie just said.
Yeah. So
that's a good one.
Yeah, that's the only one I can.
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah. Emily was actually her middle name. Her first name was C, right? Am I right, Mohamed? C. Emily.
I don't actually remember that.
Oh,
C.
It was
I think it was serious.
initial.
Like, what?
You gotta know there's a joke going on somewhere.
It's a biology thing. Carmen,
hey, nerd jokes.
I'm with Carmen on that.
Always something going on.
Nerd jokes.
You guys, the thing is like I've never been good at puns, and so I'm not good at making them. And so when I hear them, I will not admit that it's good because it just frustrates me. Anybody who can make a pun, it makes me very like.
Well,
it's
usually cringe.
Ryan is our favorite non-dad joke guy.
I established myself as Mirror Universe Ryan, so.
You mean making jokes that are actually funny?
No, that's not what I meant.
I was gonna say that too.
So that was some shade.
Wow.
That's off.
Cat, you just won. We gotta clip that one.
That was
no,
that was the sting of the day, Cat.
I had it coming. Carmen, do you have a favorite Dax?
Which was the one that took over Quark's body? Was that Ostrid? The one that used
Audred.
Audred.
Yeah.
I like her just because she made him that uncomfortable.
You're right. It is Audred. Correct.
Yeah.
Very good. Wow. Good one. PJ, do you have a favorite?
Because I get mixed up with the names still a lot, I'm just going to say Curzon.
Right.
Yeah. Easiest.
Safe choice.
We're Cirroc and I all do something called the NAM, the non-appearance mentions, where like Nog or Jake, they get mentioned even when they're not in there, and it kind of builds their canon, their story. And we're talking about how like we can't include Curzon in this because Curzon gets mentioned in like every other episode. It's like way too
man.
Like, we know him so well right now. He's got a lot of depth to that character because they mention him so much.
It's funny whether you count him as non-appearance, because I mean, if Jadzia is there, he's kind of there.
He's kind of appearing.
Right?
You're right.
He's kind of there, so it's fair.
It is.
I mean, Dax is there, and that's partly him. So
it's fair.
Heather, do you have a favorite one?
Well, Curzon's the most known, but I'm gonna go with Tarius Dax because it says he's the first host to join Starfleet. So,
nice, good one.
And he was a test pilot.
He was the Nog. He was the Nog of their hosts.
And there is a trivia that says that it's actually a cover-up after his death, because then that's when Dax went into Duran, the psychopath.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Duran's not included in the official list, even on Wikipedia. Or he is actually, sorry. But in the trail list, he's not included on there because they covered it up.
Right.
So.
Wow.
Duran, though. That was cool.
Big money.
A character like that.
Anybody else have a favorite?
Yeah, I don't see anybody picking Duran Ballar.
I mean,
It's a pretty
Jadzia, she may not have mentioned her name, but, you know, she does say, well, I've been a mother. Well, I had this many kids. And it's like, she didn't mention her by name, but she invoked her enough.
right. Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, yes, we know you've had a lot of kids. Thank you.
We
You've
get
been a
it.
mother. You've been a father. Thanks.
I like that.
It's been a little bit
I like
of everything.
Dax's son. Yeah.
Dax is who?
Son?
I like Dax's son, Michael, also known as Michael Daxon.
Okay.
Michael Daxon? Oh, geez.
That was one for you,
Hopefully
buddy.
it hadn't cut out like right at that moment.
I will never discourage bad puns. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't have it in. I'll always give it an A, and Carmen will always give it an F. We're like the yin and yang of puns.
There it is. Rex.
At least you got a reaction. The worst pun is when no one gets it. They just kind of sit there looking at you.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
That's usually me.
That's me often.
Never happened to you, has it, Ryan? Ever happened to you?
Non-stop. So before we go, though, I do want to ask PJ. So you're stuck in Madrid, but you live in New York generally. Do you have any idea when you're going to be able to come back home?
Well, no, if I'm going to be here for the time being. So I'm not. I didn't really force the issue either. So whenever things open up, we'll just.
Are you from New York City?
Okay.
Yeah, New York metropolitan. No, Queens.
Did you get stuck out there on vacation or on work?
Both. Mostly work. Mostly work.
Now it's kind of a vacation. Anne Marie's in New York too, and Homer's in New York. Upper Manhattan, is it New York or Homer?
Yeah, I'm in Inwood at the top.
Oh, awesome.
Yep.
Have they opened New York back up? Because they extended California until June 31st.
2022, yeah.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
Nope.
What about where you're at over in North Carolina?
Well, Durham is nominally closed through tomorrow, but the mayor's already said he's going to extend it. The state already opened last Friday, though very limited opening. It's not like restaurants are just doing takeout and delivery still. It's more phase one where like some of the state parks opened and things like that.
Sure.
I saw that for where you guys are, though, I saw the California State University system all said that they're going remote for fall, which, I mean, a lot of schools are thinking about it, but they announced it early saying, no, we're just going remote. So that's intense.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it gives them more time to plan ahead for it rather than waiting to the last second and then scrambling for it. Who knows?
Yep.
Carmen, I forgot where you are.
I'm in Bethesda, Maryland, which is just outside of Washington, D.C.
Got it.
Our governor announced yesterday that he wants to open up tomorrow. But then also he said that the counties can decide. So thankfully, my county and the county next to ours, the mayors have decided to take it a little bit more slowly, thank goodness. Yeah, I ain't going nowhere. Like, let me like
stay safe.
I did my nails today. Like,
you're good.
I've got wigs for every occasion and hats. You know what I mean? Like,
it's where you start having to go like this, like you just kind of show off,
So I'm all for, people finding alternate ways to. I think this is a really good time where we could, potentially innovate. Cities, counties, states, the country could innovate and find different ways to do things. But instead, I personally, I feel like a lot of people are just forcing the issue to like open, and it's like, okay, you want to open and no one's wearing masks. It's like, okay, good luck. You're just like, So I'm just like, I'm sitting here making an Excel, and I would share it except for you guys are gonna think I'm a giant nerd, but I literally just made an Excel spreadsheet of all the masks that I've ordered. It's so, I'm like, who am I? But it's really real. My boyfriend has to go out to work every day. So it's just.
There's a lot of Star Trek people that are making cool Star Trek masks too.
I would love to find some. I've only found kind of like some commercial ones so far.
Rex can give you a link.
Yeah, Rex has the link.
She's back ordered, but I made like a space celestial one, so it's Star Trek-y.
Yeah.
Nikki from Make It So?
Right.
Have any? Does she still? Well, I guess we can.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Send me links.
Yeah.
Send me
Yeah.
links because
Yeah.
living here, I don't know. I feel like we have so much infrastructure here in the DC area. It's like we need to be a little bit more. Can't be so cavalier here. So yeah.
See,
tell me about more masks.
Our county actually just gave away masks to every resident in the county. They did this super drive. Like every town agreed to go on the same day so that they wouldn't have people rushing to one town. And they gave out a family of 3 or more got 24 masks, and if it was under 3, you got 12. And it was just, I mean, their 12 masks isn't going to get you very far, but they were, giving them out even with them saying that the state was going to open up again, just a little bit.
That's great. That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I think that we're going to see the businesses here keep requiring masks, even if the government doesn't say so.
You know what I always think is going to be really cool is 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now when Facebook sends us your memories and you're just like, whoa, we wore masks. God, that looks hideous. But now it's basically normal to us. Or if we're watching these videos and we're like, oh God, we're talking about masks and lockdown, but it's you know what I mean? I can't help but think about 5 years from now or 10 years from now, we'll look back like this was a foreign country to us, what's the new normal? Anyway, Cirroc looks like he's going to rob a bank with his I see his around his neck.
I go to old school. I'm old school. Oh, there you go, Homer.
Yeah, Homer showing up his Star Trek one.
Carmen, I'll send you information on this one.
There it is.
You got to bring that close up to the camera, Homer, so we can see the
number
one.
Oh,
wow.
Everybody's
number one.
Nice. Or red shirt. And I was wait.
Or you could, I guess you could also flip it.
What is it, inside out?
Well, it's both sides.
Reversible.
I don't know if it's reversible. I always wear the Riker on the outside.
Yeah.
Does he have the beard on one and the other he doesn't have the beard?
Oh, Rex got
that.
Yeah, Rex
too.
got his Star Trek on.
Mm-hmm. Rex
so
looks
you gotta step your game up, man.
Rex looks like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
It does.
Oh, okay.
It's a good look.
He does.
Scorpion wings. All right, guys, we got to run. But thank you all for joining us. Anne-Marie left us because she got tired of being on the roof.
It was cold. I don't know how she was sitting out there because it's only 65 degrees where I am. So New York can't be that much warmer.
Nice.
So I mean, but it's too cold to be sitting out in a,
or
closer to the sun.
Or she fell off
maybe.
the roof.
Oh, jeez. That'll be in the newspaper.
Check on Anne-Marie.
Poor Anne-Marie.
You're not here.
All right, well, we got to run. But special thanks to Mohamed Noor for joining us.
Mirror Universe, Ryan T. Husk.
That's right. I should just say Mirror Universe me. And what Mohamed asked was, if you're in the Mirror Universe, you're calling the people in the Prime Universe Mirror Universe.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Why are we Prime and they Mirror?
And special thanks to PJ Thomas for joining us. Tomas for the first time all the way out in Madrid. Carmen Shamwell, Heather Jordan, our King, Commander Homer Frizzell, Rex A. Wood for Cirroc, Lofton, and myself for Aaron Eisenberg and Russ Haslage. Thank you all very much for joining us. And always remember the 7th rule.